Byeon Woo is a revelation. I have been loving on this man for quite a bit. I am so happy that Lovely Runner was such a huge success. And basically, I'm probably going to spend majority of this podcast just talking about how fine his face is, how that face card is never declining, how just all 7'8" of him looks towering over Kim Yoon, and just overall my thoughts about Lovely Runner since the entirety of the show did conclude this week. Episode 16 did air, and I have a lot of thoughts in general about the show. So let's get into it. Hi, I am Monique. I am the host of Off by Purple Heart podcast, where I talk to you about K-dramas, C-dramas, BTS, and whatever else I want. As a by the way, Namjoon, as for BTS fans, he has released quite a bit of music. I think the latest song he has released is Groin. I love that he has a song named Nuts and Groin. He's tripping me out. I have to do like an album review. Anyways, I am going to be talking about Lovely Runner, the finale, my overall thoughts about the show. It is going to be a pretty spoiler heavy podcast. I'll do my best to warn in advance when I'm going to be spoiling some key information, but just going into it, if you're someone that does not want to be spoiled at all, then you will listen with a lot of discretion, okay? Because I want to get into it. Just fresh off of watching episode 16, and it was beautiful. I gotta be honest, the last half was really, really sweet. I was almost thinking in the first half of episode 16 that it was almost anticlimactic a little bit for me. Like I was almost kind of but the last half of the show really got to me, got me really emotional, and it's amazing how stress inducing this show really is, but they still able to get a lot of laughs. I gotta be honest, this is going into spoilers. The whole failed proposal scene on the boat and just the comedic timing of Byeon Woo. I gotta tell you, this man, I knew I liked him. Yeah, it's partly the face card. I'm not gonna lie. He is devastatingly gorgeous to look at. I'm not gonna pretend otherwise, okay? he fine. He fine, okay? But he also has a lot of great acting talent, and I knew from Strong Girl Namsoon, which I have talked about before, is a K-drama recently that I have heavily disliked. I heavily disliked it. I was really not a fan of basically the entirety of the cast. The one bright spot in the show was Byeon Woo-suk's antagonistic character and his chemistry with the main female lead. And I won't get into spoilers for that show, but let me tell you, he had a lot more chemistry with her than the actual intended love interest. And what they did to Byeon Woo-suk's character at the end, I basically tuned out. So from what I heard, how that show was facing, how it was shaping up, I was like, nah, I'm out. But I have been looking for a K-drama to really sink my teeth into, and I'm so glad that through the opportunity of this show, his profile has risen exponentially, and I have a feeling I'm going to be seeing his face a lot more in the upcoming months, and I think his career is really going to take off. And he's in that sweet spot right now because he is in his 30s. And as an aside, he looks like he's in his 30s. I hear this commentary a lot. They're like, oh my God, I can't believe Byeon Woo is in his 30s. And I'm like, he looks like a 30-year-old man. A fine, tall glass of water 30-year-old looking man. But he looks like a 30-year-old man to me. He just looks good. He's got great skin, just clear skin. He looks well moisturized and hydrated, but he looks his age. So I don't really get that commentary. Anyways, I'm getting sidetracked. I think he's beautiful. I think all 7'10" of him, I'm exaggerating, but the man's tall as hell. And especially compared to Kim Hye Yoon, he was just towering over her, man. For a lot of those kisses, I was like, good Lord, the amount of apple crates that actress probably had to stand on. The kissing, I was like, thank you. I actually love that they gave a lot in their kissing scenes, and I was just like, oof, I just want to pass out. But yeah, he is a revelation. I adored him. He handles comedic moments really well with the first failed proposal, but the second proposal in episode 16 was absolutely gorgeous. I love cherry blossoms in general, and I like any cherry blossom, you know, hued proposal, and I thought it was just really beautiful. Him just kind of towering over her, you know, her reaching out to the sky to catch cherry blossoms, and him just really covertly putting the engagement ring in her hand, and just the look of awe in her eyes. It was just really gorgeous and really sweet. So I really loved the second half of Ep 16. Kim Hye as well really did a wonderful job. I think she, out of the two of them, had the harder character to sell, even though both of them did extraordinarily well. It's a really emotional show. I knew from like the first episode that it was a lot, but I just keep remembering how stirring her performance was in episode 1 of Lovely Runner, and in the first original timeline, just the suicidal ideation, just the actual anger and frustration that Im Sol had as a character, and just how well Kim Hye was able to play that, and then how through the majority of the show her character kind of flipped. Considering the timeline, it kind of not necessarily alter their personalities, but their response to their environment became different depending on the timeline and how much fixing that she had to do. There was some plot hole-ish things, some, you know, subplots that were kind of dropped here and there in the show, but I think overall Kim Hye really held a lot of this together, and I didn't give her a lot of credit in my earlier podcast about Lovely Runner, but she does deserve a lot of credit. She did the work, man. And, you know, she also had to throw herself on a lot of comedic moments as well. A lot of the show was really goofy and silly, and I think we needed that levity as well, because there was a lot of dark themes. As I mentioned earlier, there was, you know, the suicidal ideation earlier on in the show. In the first episode, there was the entire dark subplot of the serial killer, which I was kind of surprised because they dragged that storyline out for the entirety of the show, yet in episode 16 they just unceremoniously kind of wrapped it up in a matter of 10 minutes. To be honest, and this is just me, and I might be alone in this, but I figure if you're only going to spend like 10 minutes or less, then they didn't need to bring it into episode 16, to be honest. If it was a matter of needing to have like a dramatic, tense moment in order to bridge between Ep 15 and 16, I don't think it's really needed at that point. I feel like with all the push and pull with the show, it kind of felt unsatisfying in a way, considering how weirdly crafty the serial killer was and how he was able to predict her moves. So I guess the fan theories that a lot of us were thinking didn't turn out to be true, that he was also like a future traveler that was matching all the time travel that she was doing. I felt kind of like unsatisfied, and I think that was part of the reason why the first half of Ep 16 really didn't work for me, because I was like, why would they put the audience through all this and just have it wrapped up just like that? It was kind of odd to me, to be honest. And a lot of that push and pull and the back and forth travel kind of got on my nerves around the episode 10 mark. Am I mistaken in that? But I think between episode 10 and 12, I was getting almost, I don't know if the word is burnt out or just exhausted by the amount of time traveling and the amount of self-sacrifice that Im Sol had to do in order to keep Sunjae alive through the majority of the plot, that it was just getting really exhaustive. But I understood so much of the show revolved around the time traveling element, because mainly the show's crutch was Im Sol was doing whatever it would take to have Sunjae have his happy ending. You know, Sun and Soul finally being able to come together as one. They were destined to be together, and throughout all the cruelty and all the mishaps and all the darkness and all the previous timelines, they still somehow always end up forging a connection together. But yeah, it got like so exhausting. But then somewhere along episode 13, I was reinvigorated and I was completely glued. Like episode 13, 14, and going into episode 15, I was like super excited again. And then it was like episode 16 just wrapped everything up in a pretty little bow in like a matter of 10 minutes. I was like, oh, okay, sure. But as I said, episode 16 was great. Really love the second half of episode 16. I love some cheesiness sometimes, sometimes the cringe is a little bit too much, but as I said, Kim Hye and definitely Byeon Woo seok, they do comedic timing really well, and I just thought their characters were really cute and sweet, and even the cringy moments between the two of them were just absolutely adorable. They're both very beautiful looking people. I understand both of them have careers as models in addition to being actors, but they just really sell the cutesiness really well. And I love that they were able to finally celebrate their love, and the prophecy of them getting married ended up being true. All the foreshadowing ended up being true, and we even got a glimpse of the future of them in their wedding, even though that was just a little piece of like a flash forward into the future that they both had. The power that Kim Hye-yoon's character Im-sol had, and the power through the watch, I thought was kind of like another plot hole. Like the way time travel worked in this show didn't really make sense to me, and some of the rules that they introduced earlier on in the show didn't really seem to apply as much going towards the end. But the one thing I really did like was that her Halmoni, her grandma, the little cutie patootie, she ended up always having like a wink wink nudge nudge to the audience and to the characters. Like the grandmother, despite the dementia, she seemed to have a basic understanding of what was going on, and I really thought what she had said to Im-sol was really beautiful about how, the mind might forget, but the body will still retain memories, and it's like smeared across your heart, and you just don't forget the emotion. Like the body keeps score of memory, even if the brain blocks certain things out for whatever reason, trauma, what have you, the body still remembers. And I like that. Even though Byeon Woo seok's Sunjae in episode 15, and when we were introduced to the final timeline where things actually work out and he ends up alive, I do like that the love was just so strong between them that even though he didn't recognize her at first, he knew something was off. He knew that he had this really strong connection to Im-sol, and he just couldn't let it go. And once he read the script that she was penning, basically detailing her life as the lovely runner, he was so moved to tears. And even the connection through music, and that song in particular that she had written in the script, and the emotional connection that he had to the song, I just thought all that was beautiful as well. I really liked a lot of the show, and I'm telling you, the cast performances really brought it in for me, even though there was times where the show was really stress inducing. And as I said, the time traveling back and forth and the constant disappointment of Im-sol's character having to do something to break Sunjae's heart, and her having to cry and deal with that pain internally, it became almost exhaustive to watch, and I was like getting really tired of the mechanism of the time travel, which had some plot holes in it anyways. But I'm telling you, the performances were really strong, and there was so much that I enjoyed for the show. And let me say, Tae-sung is the best second lead male character in a very long time. I love that damn character, and every single timeline he had a lot of chemistry with Im-sol as well. I loved all of the interactions that Jeon-hee had with Byeon Woo seok in the show. I feel like they should work together again. There's even a couple of moments in episode 16 where, Sunjae would lean into Taesung, and I almost thought I was gonna watch a BL because their chemistry was so good. I was like, ooh, did you guys want to do a throuple? Like, anyway, I was like, ooh, he was just an adorable cutie pie, and I love Taesung. I thought he was phenomenal. And him being instrumental in taking down the serial killer plotline, even though that was wrapped up relatively quickly, I'm glad that it was his character that was able to finally get that man out of there. Even though I would have liked to have seen that character been brought to justice versus just dying off, but seeing as how, the legal system wasn't really working that well, and that this man was able to get off, even though he was already exhibiting criminal activity and behavior, he was able to get off and still continue to wreak havoc and murder all these innocent victims. It was probably the best ending for him to just flat out die. But I kind of wanted the character to actually have justice and be locked up in solitary confinement or something. I don't know. But I love Taesung's character a lot. Dear God, I thought he was just so adorable. Like the dimples, just easy smile. The fact that he always called Im-sol, my soul. The timelines where he was dating her, and just the really cute banter they had together, and how much he was so completely enamored with Im-sol, like the actual future present day version of Im-sol. He just found her just completely adorable and endearing. I just love that energy as well. He's just a great character to me. I kind of felt bad for him. I was kind of low-key rooting for the two of them, but I knew that the end game, of course, was going to be Sunjae and Im-sol, considering everything that they went through to be together. Obviously, that was going to be the end game, but I kind of wanted Taesung to have his own happy ending as well, because I just thought he was absolutely adorable. And credit to Jeon Hee for his portrayal of Taesung. I love the character. I think the high school crush element was just a really cute thing, and I never really saw him as antagonist that was going to be a major barrier to the main couple's friendship. I enjoyed his face. I liked every interaction, every timeline that he was in, and I liked that he ended up making a life for himself and being able to be this great cop and be able to do this great thing. And the way that Sunjae sincerely thanked him for saving Im-sol's life, essentially, right? He was just really great, and I had to make sure I gave him some love and some kudos. Overall, I really enjoyed the show. The OST, man, especially the You and I OST, in the title credit sequencing of the show, I love that song. And the I'm falling slowly love with you, and every time they play that song, depending on the scene, it would be really celebratory and beautiful, or it would be really harrowing and sad and melancholy. But just the music was able to always trigger emotions in me. I love the music of this show. I adore the music of the show. The only other thing that I think I could talk about is one of the plot holes that really irritated me, and maybe it wasn't a plot hole, maybe I missed something, was in the initial first episode in the timeline. Sunjae's character seemingly committed suicide, but it might have not been that, and it looks like a lot of the show was pointing it towards it being the serial killer that was involved with him basically falling from his balcony into the pool and then dying hours later. And I don't think they ever really clearly wrap that up and say definitively what happened that night. But that was one of the things that really stuck out to me. That was kind of like a bugaboo. And there's some other quibbles and plot hole stuff as well. But overall, my overall thoughts is a great show. Great job, Kim Hye. You did a marvelous job. You had a really hard character to play. And I know, you know, a lot of K-drama watchers can be misogynistic and can be a lot harder on the female lead characters, but I think she had to do a lot of heavy lifting. I think she had the harder character to sell, and everything kind of pinged on her and her portrayal of Im Sol to make the show work. But I also just adore Byeon Woo, and he really showed out in this show. Like just the amount of comedic elements he was able to sell. He was just super charming, super funny, super gorgeous, and those back bending kisses, goddamn. Can you imagine like that 7-foot man just like some of the scenes? I'm like, how does Kim Hye do this? I know she's a professional, she's been acting, but good God, you don't ever have like that moment where you're like, what are we really? I don't know, man. I just, those backbending kisses. I can't get over it. I can't get over him, his face. I expect to see his face in more shit, okay? I want to see him all the goddamn time. He needs to be the male lead in goddamn everything. And while we're at it, Jeon Hee as well. Get him in stuff too. You can get them in a BL for all I care. God. But Byeon Woo, that face card is not declining anytime soon. Unless he says something stupid or problematic, then I reserve judgment. But for right now, he just seems super lovely, and I think he's doing a really great job, and I'm glad that this show was like a massive hit for him, and that it's going to be like a career defining role for him. Even though he kind of already was a breakout star with Strong Girl Namsoon and like another K-drama that I'm failing to remember right now. But yeah, he is lovely. He is lovely. Just a gorgeous, fine man. Anyways, that's going to conclude this episode. I am really happy to have been able to finish Lovely Runner. That's my second major K-drama that I finished in a bit. Still at large, I don't really think 2024 has been great for K-dramas, to be honest. I have not really been impressed. I have cataloged a few that I've liked, but it's been dry as the Sahara Desert for me personally. Mind you, there is a couple that are airing right now that I hear a lot of buzz about. I was checking out Atypical Family. Judgment still is reserved for that one. Just by what I've saw so far for episode 1, I don't know. But we'll see. I still have some C-dramas that I am watching, and there's definitely some BLs that are coming out in this lovely month of June. As I'm recording this is June 1st. That I'm checking out for show, and I still have to finish a review for Nothing But You, which was a C-drama that I was chronicling quite a bit, and talk about Leo Woo's beautiful face, you know. If you're watching this podcast via YouTube, thank you so much. Put in your comments below. Have you watched all of Lovely Runner? What were your thoughts? Were you satisfied with the finale? What did you think? For all the Spotify listeners and Apple Podcast listeners, I appreciate y'all so much. Hope you're having fun along with the rest of us, and I hope you stay tuned and will join me for the next episode. As I said, I'm still watching quite a bit of stuff. Just wish that K-dramas were bringing it a little bit more, to be honest. Oh well. Till the next one. Bye.